Welcome back. I'm going to do another review of another retro gaming system that I proudly flaunt on here. It is a little bit yellow. It's getting a little aged out. I'm going to tell you about this bad boy. This is my original Super Nintendo that I worked my ass off when I was in elementary school, actually. This was doing jobs, throwing bales in the summertime for one of the local farmers, busting my ass to try and save my money to buy myself the Super Nintendo. I had the Sega Genesis at the time, which I thoroughly enjoyed, which I still enjoy to this day. But I had to have this. And I've had this. This is my original one that I got. It's got a little wear and tear, a little bit of yellowing on it. The power switch must be off before loading or removing a game pack sticker is still on there, but it's starting to peel off a little bit. That's right. 16 bits of power, 16-bit Super Nintendo. Oh boy, it had the eject button. Very nice. Very nice. It's a sexy beast. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved the controller. Now, when I did my video on the Sega Genesis, I did explicitly state my point with the side-by-side comparison of the Super Nintendo to the Sega Genesis. The reason why this bad motherfucker wins out is because of the game library for it. Most of when I recommend retro games to people, they're games for this machine. This was my childhood. The Sega Genesis I had. I absolutely loved it, yes. But I am still enamored and blown away by some of the games available for this machine. I grabbed a few games to bring down with me to do this review. I've got a stack of them right here. I'm just going to say, okay, Chrono Trigger is still upstairs. I got a little excited, forgot it. I did beat Chrono Trigger. I've been doing this while I've been home because of the COVID-19 situation. I played through Chrono Trigger and beat it. Fantastic game. Highly recommend. That is probably one of my number one games of all time. You know what another one is? This right here. Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. Whew. One of the first Super Nintendo games that I played. The first Super Nintendo game that I actually played was when the machine was new. Super Mario World. I got it for... we rented the machine from one of the outfits here in town. Got a copy of Super Mario World, and it was a Japanese copy. It was not the English copy. Whatever. You played it. Had fun. Played through Super Mario World. I was absolutely in love with that machine. So I built my game library once I got my machine. One of my favorite games of all time, like I said, Chrono Trigger, fantastic. Zelda is always a win, in my opinion. Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past. You want to occupy your time, occupy your mind for a bit, escape. This right here. This will give you the feels, the happiness, the joy that you might be lacking in your life. I brought another couple of games, which I can highly recommend, out of my personal collection. I left a few upstairs. God damn it. Chrono Trigger is up there. But that's okay. You know what it is. You probably won't be able to find a copy of it because it's very hard to find an actual copy. If you're one of those gamers that uses the emulation or purchases it, you can get it on like the... I've even got a copy on my Wii of a few of these games that I bought with points. off of the point store with the Wii. You could buy old games, and it was fantastic. It's full. Another one of, and I'll review the Wii on one of these videos, but another one that was one of my personal favorites and still is, Donkey Kong Country. Come on, people. It's fun. The graphics were some next level shit back then. They did not age too well. This is good. It's fun. With any of these Donkey Kong games, you get into the level where you have the little cart. You have to jump it, and it's frustrating. I did break a couple controllers because I threw a controller and completely destroyed it on one of the cart levels on Donkey Kong Country. I'm sorry. I will admit it. I rage quit a few Super Nintendo games. Another one that's an absolute favorite of mine for all time, if you can see it, Super Castlevania 4. That's right. Castlevania. Castlevania is a very specific taste. Either you're not that into it and it's just another thing to you, or you absolutely fucking love it. Super Castlevania 4, my god, one of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time. I do have Mortal Kombat for the Super Nintendo as well. I had this face down. I thought this was one of the other ones, so I brought this one instead. It's not bad. Like I said in my last video about the Sega Genesis, the Genesis version of Mortal Kombat was better than the Super Nintendo one, in my opinion. But there was quite a few games for the Super Nintendo. For this, oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. This right here, that have stood the test of time. Mega Man X. Huge Mega Man fan. I have all the original Nintendo Mega Man games, plus the Super Nintendo ones, plus for various other systems and stuff like that. Mega Man X for the Super Nintendo. Goddamn. Mega Man X2, Mega Man X3, Super Nintendo. Fantastic. Mega Man 7, give that a go. If you like Mega Man games, they can be a source of frustration. Mega Man 7 was lovely. The Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, Mega Man X3, fantastic. You know what's another one that I didn't bring down, and that's why I thought Mortal Kombat was, but that's okay. Super Metroid. Super Metroid for the Super Nintendo. For real. That's this. If I had to sum up some of my favorite video game franchises, series, the bulk of them are Nintendo, are sourced from gaming on this machine. Seriously. Mega Man, Nintendo, Super Nintendo. Okay? That's Mega Man 7, Mega Man X, clinched it. That was this bad boy's doing. Okay? Super Metroid. Okay? I was absolutely in love with the original Metroid. I've got my original Metroid. I'll show you the cartridge when I do the review of the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System. Classic. It has aged, but it is the timeless classic. This is also a timeless classic as well. Mario can do no wrong. Mario, one of my favorite video game franchises of all time. My children and I, we play Mario. We enjoy it. Mario Kart, Mario Party, Mario everything. It's great. Again, Super Mario All-Stars for this Super Nintendo had the original games remastered. Fantastic. Super Mario World, great. One of my favorite games of all time was for this machine. Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. You've probably heard of it. You've probably enjoyed it. If you haven't, I stress to you, try it out. It'll change your life. Okay? Final Fantasy games for this machine were great. If you wanted to burn through some time, go through any of those Final Fantasy games. I had ActRaiser, which was one for the Super Nintendo. Fantastic. Pilot Wings. Star Fox, obviously. Star Fox didn't age as well as anybody had hoped, but that's what happens with stuff like that. So yeah, all in all, the controller was good. The machine was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. The fact that it had the eject button. Do you want a way? I actually got into a fight with somebody one time. A physical fight. Because they just pulled the fucking cartridge out of their Super Nintendo. You don't do that. There's an eject button for a reason. It says eject. Show the thing the respect that it deserves. Don't go pulling the fucking cartridge out willy-nilly. There is an eject button for a reason. I don't know if it caused any detrimental effect to it by pulling it out without ejecting it. I do not care. Don't disrespect a piece of history by just pulling the cartridge out. I have never done that on this machine. I would not try. I respect and love this thing far too much to risk destroying a part of my childhood. Even though it's kind of looking like crap. But whatever, this machine is 20, almost 30 years old. Come on. Old school. Kicking it old school. But that's my recommendation. If you can track down an old Super Nintendo and you want to have some fun with it, track it down. Have some fun. Plug it in. Play. You can go check out the mini system. They had a mini. It looked just like this guy right here, only it was a fraction of the size. But it was a very small replica. The plugins were a different port, but you could actually get extension cables for it. The plug-in was the same plug-in as a Wiimote had on the bottom. That's right. The little Super Nintendo Mini. So if you can track down one of those, and I'm not talking the cheap Chinese knockoff crap one. I'm talking Nintendo deserves your money. They made an immaculate system years ago. They cranked out some of those mini versions of these. They deserve every penny that you give them for that machine. And it's a small cost for a lot of good times, memories, nostalgia, and fun. So I highly recommend it. So that's my recommendation for some of these games. Make sure you check it out. If you can track down one of those actual Nintendo, Super Nintendo Minis, I highly recommend picking it up. It does have some really good games on it. Super Mario World, that's reason enough right there. That game has such replay value. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past has very, very high replay value. Okay? Many of the Super Nintendo titles did. When set it side by side library-wise with the Sega Genesis, this is the winner right here. Super Nintendo. Just because the game library was huge. I did play a few crappy games for the Super Nintendo. They didn't have as many misses as the Sega Genesis did. With the Sega Genesis, they just kind of got what they could get, I guess. Super Nintendo, it was a little bit more controlled. And you got a high-quality game every time, for the most part. And it was pretty cool. So check it out. Hopefully you enjoyed my review. Highly recommend the Super Nintendo from the 1990s. If you want a good flashback, go back, have some fun, have some bonding time with your kids, play some retro games. Highly recommend the Super Nintendo. If you're one of the younger people who thinks that this thing is an ancient throwback in technology to when dinosaurs walked the earth, I challenge you. Go give this a spin. you might be pleasantly surprised. I absolutely love mine. Still do. Always will. Hopefully you enjoyed my review. I will be doing another review of the Nintendo GameCube here right away. I'll be posting it up and let you guys know what I think about that. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay in touch with me when I upload new videos. I'll be doing quite a few of these video game console reviews, since this is what I have been doing with some of my time with the whole COVID-19 situation, being at home, social distancing, and all that good stuff. All right, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a good day.